All right, let's jump into this. You sent over some pretty interesting stuff about Chang'an. They're a big Chinese car company, and they're making a serious move into Europe, it seems. We've got the rundown on their big launch event, their first car they're offering over here, and basically their whole plan. What we're going to try to do in this deep dive is figure out, really understand what this means. What does it mean for cars in Europe? Maybe even for you if you're, thinking about buying a new car, if you just follow the industry and stuff like that. We'll look at where Chang'an came from, how they did this launch thing in Europe, what their first car, it's called the Deepal S07, is all about, and then their plan to grow from there, how they want to get bigger in Europe. And this is where it gets really interesting. This Chang'an, they're not some new company. They've been around for a while, and they've already sold a ton of cars. So let's dive into all of that. What makes this move into Europe such a big deal? And maybe to start us off, can you give us a sense of how big and how experienced Chang'an is, even before they even thought about Europe?
What's interesting here is Chang'an isn't just trying to get into Europe. They're coming in as one of the top four car groups in all of China. They've been making cars for, get this, 40 years. 40 years since 1984. So for you, the listener, this isn't just a company trying something new. They're a major player, a global player with a lot of experience, and that could really shake things up in Europe.
40 years. That's a long
Yeah.
time in the car business. It sounds like they know what they're doing. So what about the rest of the world? What about their operations? Are they mostly in China or are they all over the place?
Well, if you look at the bigger picture, they are really global. They've got 34 plants worldwide, and they have something like 82,000 employees. That should give you an idea of just how big they are, how much they can produce.
34 plants. That's huge.
Yeah.
And are they just making, one kind of car? Or do they have different brands, different partnerships?
You're right. They have quite a variety. They have their own brands like Chang'an itself, Deepal, Avatri, those are all theirs. But then they also have partnerships with some big international names. They work with Ford, Mazda, and a company called JMC. It's interesting, right? Working with these global players probably teaches them a lot about what different markets want, what different customers like.
Yeah, it's like learning from the best, being right there inside those partnerships. And we have to remember, this isn't their first time selling cars outside of China.
Yeah.
They're already international.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. They already export to over 60 countries and regions. That tells you they know how to deal with the challenges of selling cars all over the world. Even though Europe is, its own thing with specific rules and what customers expect, it's just a new challenge for sure.
So they're definitely not new to the global game. You also mentioned they've sold a lot of cars, impressive numbers.
Yeah.
Can you put that into context for us? How many cars are we talking about, especially in China, their home market?
These numbers are really something. As of April 2024, just their Chinese brands, not even counting the cars they make with those partners, their sales were over 26.33 million units. It's a huge number, and it shows you just how big their operation is, how many customers they already have. So for you watching, this isn't a company taking a risk. They know how to sell cars, and they sell a lot of them.
Over 26 million. Wow. That definitely paints a picture of a really big player. All right, so we've got this company, huge, experienced, and now they're going into Europe. Let's talk about that launch event. It was in Mainz, Germany, right? Why Mainz?
Mainz is right in the middle of Germany, and it's a really important place for cars in Europe. Germany is, a huge car market, so it makes a lot of sense to do a big event there, right in the heart of things. They want everyone to see them.
Yeah, that's smart. Planting their flag right in the middle of a big market. Who was there at the launch? Sounds like it was a pretty big deal.
Oh yeah, it was a big deal for sure. Chang'an sent their top people. The president of the company, Zhu Huarong, was there, along with other top managers from around the world. When they send their top people, it means they're serious about Europe.
So the big bosses came over to introduce their plans. What were they trying to do with this event? What was the point of bringing everyone to Mainz?
The main thing was to tell everyone, the dealers, the press, the important people in the car world, what their plan for Europe was. It was about getting everyone excited about Chang'an coming to Europe.
And I guess showing off their cars was a big part of that, right? Which models did they actually bring to the event?
Oh yeah, super important. They showed off the Deepal S07, which is the first car they're going to sell in Europe. But they also gave a sneak peek of some other Deepal models, the cars that are coming later. So they're not just putting all their eggs in one basket. They have a whole plan for different cars for Europe.
Sounds like a well-thought-out plan. And the Deepal S07 is the first one out the gate. What are they saying about this car, about how they're going to approach the European market?
They're really pushing the technology angle, the latest and greatest. They're talking about advanced driver assistance systems, all the electric car stuff, and how everything is connected. But they're also saying the design is made for European tastes. It's not just a Chinese car they're bringing over. They're thinking about what Europeans like. And it's got to look good too, right?
It's got to be more than just practical.
Yeah.
All right, let's zoom in on that Deepal S07, their first car for Europe. Tell us more about it. What's it all about?
Okay, so remember I mentioned they have a design center in Turin, Italy. Well, they designed the Deepal S07 there. That tells you they're serious about getting the European look and feel right from the start. It's not just a Chinese design they're trying to sell here.
So they're putting in the effort to understand European tastes. That's good. What about safety? That's a big deal for European buyers.
You bet. And Chang knows that. The Deepal S07 got a 5-star Euro NCAP safety rating. That's the top score. And it shows they're serious about meeting the safety standards that Europeans expect.
5 stars. That's a strong selling point.
Yeah.
Now, the price. What are we talking about here for the Deepal S07?
It starts at around 45,000 euros, so that puts it right in the middle of the electric car market in Europe, price-wise.
Okay, 45,000 euros. What about the range? How far can it go in a single charge? That's a big question for electric car buyers.
The Deepal S07 has a WLTP range of 475 kilometers. WLTP, that's how they measure range in Europe. 475 kilometers, that's pretty good for everyday driving and even for longer trips. They're trying to address that range anxiety that some people have with electric cars.
475 kilometers, that's not bad at all. You also mentioned some high-tech features. What kind of things are they highlighting for potential buyers?
They're talking about intelligent adaptive cruise control, so the car keeps a safe distance from other cars, automatic emergency braking, that's really important for safety, and then traffic sign recognition. That can be really helpful when you're driving in Europe. These are features that you'd probably appreciate as a driver. They make things safer and easier.
Definitely features that add value.
Yeah.
Are there any of those, those fancy tech features that people like these days, the kind of things that make you say, wow?
Oh, yeah, they have those too. There's an AR head-up display. It's pretty cool, actually. It projects information like your speed and navigation directions right onto the windshield, so you don't have to take your eyes off the road. And then they have this intelligent gesture recognition thing, so you can control some things in the car with just hand movements. It's all about that modern high-tech feeling.
Sounds like they're trying to impress. You mentioned a quote from Nick Thomas, the head of marketing for Europe. What did he say about the Deepal S07?
He said, the Deepal S07 represents our commitment to providing a fully electric, aesthetically pleasing, and intelligent vehicle that enhances the daily driving experience for European consumers. Basically, they're saying they're combining good looks, smart technology, and practicality, all for the European market.
A clear message.
Yeah.
And they're not just stopping with this one car, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned the Deepal S05, which is coming next. Yeah.
Right. The Deepal S05 is a big part of their plan for Europe. What's cool about this one is that they're offering it as a fully electric car, but also with a range extender. So you can have the electric driving experience, but you also have that extra range if you need it. Not everyone's ready to go fully electric just yet, so it gives people options.
That's a good strategy, offering different options for different needs. Now let's talk about how the Deepal brand is doing overall. The notes mention some really fast growth in electric car sales.
It's pretty impressive how quickly Deepal has grown in the EV market. They've sold 400,000 electric cars in just 29 months. And get this, 240,000 of those were sold just last year, in 2024. They're really gaining momentum. But is it going to last? What's driving this success? And can they do the same in Europe? These are the questions we need to think about.
That is some serious growth. How does that compare to other car companies, the ones we're used to seeing?
It's actually faster than a lot of the big, well-known brands. They're really switching from traditional gas cars to electric cars much faster than many others. It shows you how quickly they can adapt, how much people seem to like their electric cars, and just how ambitious they are.
They're not just making cars, they're making a statement. Now, selling cars in Europe means you need a good plan for getting those cars to customers. You need partnerships.
Yeah.
What's their strategy for that, for distribution and working with other companies in Europe?
They're taking a step-by-step approach. They're focusing on the big markets first. Germany, the Netherlands, the UK, and they've got deals in place for the Scandinavian countries too. They want to be in more than 10 European markets by the end of next year, 2025, and they want to have something like 100 dealerships across Europe by then. That's a lot to do in just a year.
That's a pretty aggressive plan. How are they starting this, this initial push into those big markets?
They're starting in Norway, working with a company called Motor Group. Then they're opening dealerships in some big cities like Hamburg and Germany and Amsterdam and the Netherlands. It makes sense, right? Start in the places where people are already buying electric cars.
Makes sense. And what about the UK? It's a big car market. What's the plan there?
Looks like they'll start selling the Deepal S07 in the UK by June of next year, so June 2025. They're setting up dealerships with some well-known car retail groups. They want to make sure customers have a good experience.
Sounds like they're being careful about who they work with. You mentioned a quote from Levantien, who's in charge of ChangAn in Europe. What did he say about choosing partners?
He said they're being very careful about who they choose. They want companies that are committed to great customer service and really understand their local market. It's about building strong relationships, not just quick deals.
That's really important. Good dealers are key to keeping customers happy. Speaking of keeping customers happy, the notes mentioned a spare parts hub in Europe. What's that about?
Ah, that's a really smart move. They're setting up a big spare parts center in the Netherlands. This will be the main supply point for all their dealers in Europe. And they're planning more of these centers in the future. It means they can provide parts and service quickly and efficiently right from the start. That should give European buyers a lot of confidence.
Yet knowing that parts and service are readily available is a big deal. So it seems like Europe is a really big priority for Chang'an. How does this move into Europe fit with their overall plan, their global ambitions?
Europe is definitely a key part of their global plan. The fact that they're starting with Norway, Denmark, Germany, the UK, those are all important markets. It shows you how serious they are about Europe.
And they're not just selling cars here, they're setting up shop.
You got it. Their European headquarters is in Munich, Germany. That's a smart move, being right in the middle of the European car industry. And they've hired around 500 people across Europe, people who know the market. They're investing in Europe for the long haul.
And we talked about this before, but it's worth mentioning again. They've been around for a while, right?
Oh yeah, definitely not new to this. They've been making cars for over 40 years. Over 20 million cars built. That's a lot of experience. They're not just experimenting, they know what they're doing.
So they're bringing all that experience to Europe. How are they planning to stand out? The European car market is tough. There's a lot of competition.
Their plan is to combine their strengths, what they're good at. They're strong in technology, especially with electric cars and all those smart features. And they're bringing in European design to make sure the cars look good and feel right for European drivers. It's about offering something different, something appealing that meets European standards.
A mix of their tech and European style. All right, to wrap things up, what's their ultimate goal in Europe? What are they hoping to achieve in the long run?
Their big goal is to be a top global car company by 2030. They want to be one of the leaders in terms of market share. And Europe is a big part of that plan. They're committed to making good cars and providing good service. That's their foundation for success.
So what does all of this mean for you, the listener? Well, what we've learned today is that a big, experienced Chinese car company is making a serious move into Europe. They're focusing on electric cars, and they're not messing around. The Deepal S07 seems like a good car at a good price, safe, and with decent range. And they're not just here for a quick visit. They're setting up shop, building partnerships, investing in Europe for the long term.
And that raises a big question. How will the European car companies react? What will this mean for electric cars in Europe? How will this affect the choices you have as a car buyer? It's definitely something to watch closely.
We hope this deep dive has given you a better understanding of what Chang is doing in Europe and what it might mean for the future of cars. Thanks for joining us. And if you found this interesting, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives.